What's up, brother? How you been? I got something I want to talk to you about. And what I want to talk to you about is Joe Rogan. The great Joe Rogan. Why is this public? Why is he public enemy number one? This is crazy. Joe Rogan, I remember growing up, was like a minor force in comedy, a stand-up, yes, host of Fear Factor, and has somehow become the most dangerous man in America. And that's what we're talking about here today. Don't forget to subscribe down below. You're going to see a button. Click that button. Join the Veto Army. Veto Army 2022. And let's get into it. Now, Joe Rogan has a podcast. This is an absurd story. He's a comedian with a podcast. Yes, he has a big listener base. And real quick, how many listeners Joe Rogan? I mean, I want to say 11 million listeners. Okay. Well, and that's what? Was that like Howard Stern at the height of his career had the same number of listeners? So sure, he's influencing 11 million people theoretically. But that's his right. And what do you want to have happen? Now, there's people who say he's being reckless with his platform, that he's bringing on kook scientists and giving people bad data. Well, okay, make your own show. Make a better show then. Like, that's all I can say to you. Why don't you make a better show than Joe Rogan's show? Why don't you fund some of these guys who you think have the right ideas and give them a platform? That's the solution. If you think that somebody's giving bad ideas, present good ideas. No one is stopping you from making a podcast. Joe Rogan is popular because, frankly, you guys in the mainstream you don't give anyone an opportunity to be entertaining. Any left-wing podcast that's out there that maybe has the right ideas is boring and stupid and politically correct. And then I look, there's these, left-wing podcasts that are a little more on the edge, say things that are a little more racy. I'm thinking of like Chapo Trap House. Why are they not getting the Spotify deal? Why is nobody reaching out to them? Because, they're scary or whatever. I don't get it. Now, people are mad at Joe Rogan because he has differing opinions on the vaccines and the public health crisis. I mean, I hate to say it. I'm a guy. I know this is controversial for a lot of you in the audience, but let's be clear. I'm a fat ass, okay? I'm a fat ass who doesn't want my lungs to fill with fluid, okay? Most of the people who died of this thing are not in the greatest shape of their life, so I said, you know what? I'm going to take the vaccine. I'm going to go with it. And you can say, it's got whatever survival rate. I'm happy to have it. It has had no negative effect on my life. If my dick falls off, I will let you know. But if Joe Rogan wants to say various things, I mean, the science on this is, frankly, a lot of it is unsettled. And a lot of it is, like, it feels like they are being a little sneaky with the information. They go, masks, 100%. And then it comes out, well, masks don't really do anything. I mean, I remember I did a contract job. I had to go into these people's office. I had to be double masked. What does it do? It doesn't, apparently, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. This video is going to get struck for misinformation. Whatever. The science is not settled. Joe Rogan took some medicine he said helped him out. What can I say? It's his right to talk about it. So, Neil Young came to Spotify, and Neil Young said, if you don't get rid of Joe Rogan, you're not allowed to play my music anymore. And they said, okay, bye, Neil Young. Of course they did. Spotify paid up to $100 million for an exclusive license to the Joe Rogan Experience. It's probably their most popular thing on that entire service. Young removed his music, issued a letter to thank his label, encourage others to follow suit. We will see. I wonder if other musicians are going to try and pull their music from Spotify and make it a whole thing. But I mean, again, I look at these boomer musicians and I go, what are you trying to do? You're trying to censor a comedian? Neil Young, would you have liked it if all your political songs and your protest songs, somebody came along and said to kick Neil Young off the radio? He's not allowed to play his music anymore because, I don't know, I have more clout or whatever else. Thank God Spotify didn't fold. Again, this is an absurdity. Neil Young, I got an idea for you. You don't like what Joe Rogan's saying? Well, you have millions upon millions of dollars. Either start your own podcast or find a podcast you like, give it a platform, invest in advertising. You have the ability to challenge this in a very real way if you want to. But these guys, rather than try to build their own thing, they try to cancel the guys who are running their own thing. Scientists now, and this is what drives me nuts. The scientists are the ones mad at Joe Rogan. Scientists. I'm mad at scientists in general. Because science used to have certain standards. What do they call that thing? Where you, the method, the scientific method. You know, where you test ideas, you get research data, you double check, triple check. Now the scientists, they aren't doing that. They've abandoned science. And a lot of the times they've abandoned science in the name of this so-called... They want to be on the right side of history, let's put it that way. So we have scientists who are mad about him talking about vaccines and whatever else. And now a bunch of scientists basically signed a letter to Spotify saying we need to ban this guy. Came out later that a bunch of the scientists were like veterinarians and dentists and stuff. You're like, okay, guys. It was like, oh, doctors and medical professionals. And you're like, I don't think a veterinarian signing a letter against Joe Rogan really convinces me of anything. Real quick, I mean, I don't even know if I can read any of it. This video is demonetized. You're not allowed to talk about any of this, and that's part of the problem. So they're mad now at the most recent thing is Jordan Peterson said that the modeling scientists used to project climate change is flawed. Peterson said there's no such thing as climate, went on to mock climate types, and then said your models aren't based on everything. Your models are based on a set number of variables. That means you've reduced the variables, which are everything to that set. But how did you decide which... Okay, this makes no sense. And I'm even willing to say, Jordan Peterson is not a climate scientist. I do trust climate scientists. I know that's controversial to some of you, but we're running the numbers, man. We don't not run the numbers. As much as some scientists are invested in real science, and I would say the climate change scientists are they're doing some real work. I believe in the climate change, but even if I don't, again, you can't cancel Joe Rogan over it. Again, if you think that what Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson say, I have the solution. Start your own shows and platforms. You know what you do? You had The Daily Show, which was a great place to challenge a lot of kind of the bad information coming out against science and right-leaning. And then you got this guy to host it, and he's not interesting, he's not funny. Nobody I know watches The Daily Show with this guy, this Trevor Noah guy, who I'm not even allowed to look at a picture of because he's so terrible. This guy sucks. You got to you have your own shows if you're mad at Joe Rogan. We also, again, had, what do you call it? A bunch of scientists, yeah, the whole demand Spotify put an end to the lies, and they signed a big letter. Again, I don't know what you want to do. I don't understand this. We got to get Joe Rogan off the air nonsense. And Spotify has even censored certain episodes that they think present dangerous misinformation. But I just think, you guys, what needs to happen is you need to say, you know what, Joe Rogan's really popular because he's talking in a very real way, he's speaking his mind, and he's not letting people censor him. That's what people are mad about, is that a lot of this information is being censored and misleading, and people don't know who to trust. So why don't you stop trying to censor guys, because it just makes everybody paranoid. And why don't you come out and start some shows? There are plenty of comedians who are in the center, who are on the left. I hate to say it. If anybody wants to give me a podcast, I'm here to tell you, I believe in climate change. And I know I'm bleeding subscribers saying that. I got the vaccine. I know some of you guys. I get these comments. They go, you voted for Biden? I'm gone. I unsubscribe. I don't understand this politicization. It's got to go both ways. You guys say you don't want to cancel and deplatform Republicans. I tell you I'm a Democrat, or at least I voted Democrat. All of a sudden, you guys are like, well, I got to get out of here. You're the scourge of America. No. Let's stop politicizing this. And again, stop trying to cancel these people and censor them. It just makes everybody paranoid and mad. And let's have a common sense discussion. Fund your own shows. Neil Young, you have millions of dollars. Again, if you don't like what Joe Rogan's saying, go out and start your own show. And here's the big thing for me. Scientists go, well, why do people trust Joe Rogan over us? Because you guys are fucking around. And you know you're fucking around. Just be scientists. Be scientists. Be cold, calculating. Say, we have the data is king, and we're not going to have any opinion on any of this social issues or whatever else. Because I see stuff like this, and I'm like, well, the science has lost its mind. California must address racism as a public health crisis. What? What? A public health crisis is a flu, is a cold, is a cancer, okay? Dementia, whatever. Not racism. That isn't health. That's a social issue. So when scientists are telling me, listen, we have all the answers, we're gonna set the world right, and then they come out and they go, you know what the most dangerous disease on earth is? It's racism. Well, now I don't blame anyone who doesn't trust science. I still have a little bit of respect for scientists. But anybody who comes to me and says these guys are crooks and psychopaths, I have to go, well, you kind of have a point. I kind of get it. And it sucks. Scientists, knock it off. What do you call it? Suddenly, public health officials say social justice matters more than social distance. This was the moment we really went off the rails. You as scientists can no longer complain. You can't complain about nobody trusting you and nobody wanting to wear a mask and nobody wanting to get a vaccine because you told everybody we got a social distance. If you get next to anybody, you're going to fucking die. Okay? If anybody breathes on you, you're dead. That was what you told us. And then we started these Black Lives Matter protests where thousands of people were in the streets standing shoulder to shoulder. And the scientific health experts said, this is more important than social distancing. Well, then forget it. Forget it. Then there's no point in the science. Then you're all psychopaths. Many say the protests are worth the risk of a surge, including hundreds of public health workers who signed an open letter to distinguish the new anti-racist protests to the... Basically, they said... The people who are out resisting the mandates, that you have to wear a mask or whatever else, those guys are terrorists. The Black Lives Matter people who were not wearing masks half the time and were running out and coughing on everybody and whatever, well, they're brave and they're powerful. Shut up! Shut up! Just be scientists. All you had to say, you could have said 2 sentences, maybe 3. You go, we understand that these social movements are very important to people, and we empathize with these movements. However, as scientific authorities, we must urge people to remain at home so we can defeat this deadly disease. That's all you had to say. Instead, you said, the people who are protesting masks are bad, but the Black Lives Matter people, you don't have to wear masks. Go out. Breathe on everybody, lick everybody, cough on everything. We don't care. You are proud. You are brave. Congratulations. Good for you. So ultimately, I guess I have 2 messages. 1, if you hate what Joe Rogan does, make an alternative. There is plenty of room in the marketplace for an alternative podcast that spreads more. I hate to use the left-right dichotomy, but if you want to call them lefty ideas, sure. Make a lefty podcast or find a lefty podcast that is popular, and you can elevate them to the level of Joe Rogan. Maybe they won't be as popular, sure. I mean, Rogan's got the nation behind him, I guess. But you can that's your only solution. In a realm of free speech, the only way to counter speech you don't like is to present speech you do like. That's it. And step 2, scientists, you've soured the pot. No one trusts you. And it's no one's fault but your own. Okay, you went off the rails. You started mixing in gobbledygook with real science, and now no one trusts you. And if I was you, which I know you won't do this, but I wish you guys would come out and go, listen, in the past few years, the scientific community has gotten tangled up with a number of social policies, social justice issues, identity politics, whatever else. We as the scientific community have decided that this muddles the ground for real science and prevents data, good data from getting out, confuses people as to what data they can trust. Moving forward, we as the scientific community are going to avoid getting involved in any ongoing social or political movements. We're going to stick to the facts, we're going to give you the data, and you as the public can interpret it as you will. Believe us or don't, but we as the scientific community, we're going to take our jobs a little more seriously. And ultimately, I think that's all they can do. You got to repair your image, scientists. And the way to repair your image is not to write little notes and cancel Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan's the problem. We did nothing wrong. It's your fault. You did this. Shame on you. What do you guys think? Is Joe Rogan the most dangerous man in America? Do we need to shut this man down, this bald MMA-loving comedian? Awful, wretched man, Joe Rogan. We need to destroy him. Or maybe we can just let the guy have a podcast. Maybe we can all make our little podcasts, have our speech, have our voice. Ideas will get out in there to the ether. Not always the best ideas get out there. But hopefully, if we stop censoring people and we elevate good ideas and good speakers, we will arrive at the truth. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What do you think? Let me know. Again, subscribe to Veto Nation. We're going to go strong in 2022. This is our year, gentlemen and ladies. Very few ladies in my audience, but I welcome you as well. Let's get it done. Let's get some things done. We're not going to let them take us down. We are strong. Veto Nation.